have Dr. Carla Fry with us. She's a clinical psychologist. She's a co-author of Gratitude and Kindness, a modern parent's guide to raising children in an era of entitlement, alongside of Dr. Lisa Ferrari, and the co-founder of CEO of Clinically Happy, a platform in which thousands of children and families have been impacted in her quest to cultivate a generation of happiness. And I'm super excited to have her with us because we're going to explore that topic of happiness and how we can help raise the happiest generation yet. So welcome, Dr. Fry, to Mom Talk Radio.
Thank you so much, Maria. That's quite an intro.
Yes, it was. I have to ask this question because just the other day, someone said to me, so how would you define happiness for yourself? And I actually took a step back and had to think about it. And then we got into this discussion, my girlfriend and I, on whether or not there are just some people on earth who just are happiest in an unhappy situation. So this is very timely. How would you define happiness? Like, what is happiness?
Well, although, it's simple, it's not as simple as sitting around with a smile on one's face all the time. There's definitely, we understand through looking at the research and what kind of qualities that a person lives their life with that turn out to be this definition of happiness or more happy. They definitely have more positive emotions, but they're not joyful or content all the time, but there's more of those. The people that are happiest experience more well-being in terms of their health, but also mentally, that they feel a bit better than those who aren't happy. They're grateful, but it also includes negative emotion. But they're not, a happy person isn't overwhelmed by their negative emotion, but they feel it.
So I think this is a question that we were talking about as well.
Okay.
Do we have to teach our children how to be happy, or is it something that is one of those innate emotions that we're born with?
I think if we differentiate between the momentary happiness, that experience where there is joy, where there's a giggle, right from when our kids are little bitty babies, they're showing us that they're feeling in that moment joy or pleasure. But the concept of our kids being sustainably happy, so happy enough even when they've fallen down and scraped their knee. Happy enough even when they finish that ice cream or the birthday party is over. That's a different thing, and that is what we have to teach our kids.
And so how do we do that?
Well, it's a big one. We got 17 hours worth of topic on that one, but I'll try to make it succinct. First of all, we have to show them. We have to live it. We have to take ourselves away from saying things like, I'll be happy when we go on vacation, or I'll be happier when we get that new car. Talking about and putting words right in front of them, and the feeling of being able to be content and adequate with what we have, being very attuned to talking about and showing how special interpersonal connection and relationship is and the value in that. Those are the cores, us showing that and being able to say sometimes, you know what, Mommy's sad right now because my neighbor's moving away, but I'm also really, really happy that he or she is going to have a great new adventure across the water, right? That it's not one or the other.
Right. So is it too late to teach your children how to be happy? Like, let's say they, particularly you get to the teenage years where it's very often you might catch yourself going, oh my gosh, they're so ungrateful for this, or they don't realize what they have. Is it too late to teach those lessons at that point?
It really is never too late. There is a point, depending on a teen's personality and how much they're sort of attuned to the family versus attuned to the life outside the family, their friends, etc. There is a point at which we have less influence, for sure. Mm-hmm. There's a point at which we're very likely, if we haven't really done any foundational work before this, to have less impact. But we will always, even if our kids are 22 and they've moved out, when we're around them, when we're talking to them, we always have the opportunity to lead the way. And stepping back from the comments of "you should be so grateful because," or "do you know what other kids have to deal with in other parts of the country or the world?" because that shuts them down, right? Right. It makes them feel bad and guilty and weird and not really particularly grateful for what they do have. So it's definitely little tiny moments, whether our kids are 4 or whether they're 24 or whether they're 14, not saying too much, because what do we have? We have a 30-second window mostly with most of our kids before they roll their eyeballs back in their head. Little tiny sound bites such as, "I am so appreciating this moment right now, listening to this song with you. Awesome." And then stop talking.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes I kind of had to chuckle when you said like 24, because I had 3 children in less than 20 months. And I thought like that was a hard time in my life. I think nobody warned me how difficult the young adult stage is. Like, I have a teenager, but sometimes the 20 and 21-year-olds, like, they could just drive you berserk. Like, you start questioning yourself. And nobody told me that. So
yeah, you know what? You bring up a strong and important point. I mean, we know that kids' brains don't even stop developing until they're about 25, and maturation-wise, we child psychologists, we really think about adolescence as going, in terms of the true definition, of until they're close to 30. So, I mean, we've always thought about, okay, well, they turn adults when they're 18 or 19, depending on what state or province they're in, and they're going to need us a lot less, and we're not going to need to feel as responsible for their choices, or maybe we'll be more relieved from our mom guilt at that point. But it doesn't happen that way, and they're not ready, most of them, to really successfully fly out of the nest at 20 or 21 or 22. Not really.
So we only have 30 more seconds. I just want to let everyone know where they can find you. Dr. Fry, you can find her at clinicallyhappy.ca. She's way up there north of us in Canada. But clinicallyhappy.ca, and I also have a link to that on Mom Talk Radio. So thank you so much, Dr. Fry, for joining us today. And when we return, we're going to turn our attention to a mom who is doing some luxurious